Hello, listeners, and welcome to today's Cult News segment. It is the 3rd of April, and today it marks the start of the Lori Vallow murder trial. Some people listening may be familiar with the case, some people may not know much, or perhaps you haven't heard about this case at all. Some people may be wondering, what is this case having to do with cults or coercive control? The tragic events that unfolded in the wake of extreme beliefs resulted in a string of suspicious deaths. In December 2019, a nationwide manhunt ensued when two children, Tylee Ryan and Joshua J.J. Vallow, were reported missing. Tylee was aged 16 and J.J. was aged 7. I have a roundup of the lengthy timeline regarding this case ahead of the trial proceedings, and I hope that this can be helpful for some looking to understand the case of Lori Vallow, who has been dubbed the cult mum. It seemed on paper that Lori Vallow had a great marriage with her at least fourth husband, Charles Vallow. Charles had two other sons from his previous marriage who he remained close to. Together, Lori and Charles were raising Lori's daughter from a previous marriage, Tylee. Lori also had an older son, Colby, and the couple had adopted Charles's nephew as a newborn, raising JJ as their own. A look at Lori Vallow's history suggests that Vallow's previous husband and father of Colby and Tylee Ryan, Joseph Ryan, filed for divorce some years back and was even attacked by Lori's brother Alex Cox, who tasered Joseph Ryan, accusing him of abusing Lori and Tylee and Colby. Despite this difficult previous marriage, the Vallow family of four seemed happy in photos. There's Charles, Lori, Tylee, and JJ living it up in their beautiful home in Hawaii on the island of Kauai. Lori Vallow had converted to Charles's faith from Catholicism to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, throwing herself all into the LDS teachings and attending on occasion the local temple on the island. Sources state that Lori was a very caring and present mother, occasionally hairdressing, attending the temple, and always making it an effort with the way that she looked. Various timelines suggest that around 2015, Lori Vallow began reading books written by author and fellow LDS member Chad Daybell. A graduate of Brigham Young University, Chad Daybell had his own book company which he would use to publish his doomsday fiction. Married to wife Tammy Daybell, together the pair had 5 children, and alongside being a published author, Chad Daybell's previous history in employment includes work as a gravedigger. Over the next few years, the family would move back to the mainland Arizona, and Lori Vallow would listen to podcasts featuring Chad Daybell, continuing to read his books, and even encouraged her brother Alex to do the same. There is an official timeline of events written by Annie, the auntie of Tylee and JJ, who gave me permission in an email to use this material. The timeline states that Lori indoctrinated her own brother Alex into her new beliefs that had cemented after listening to this podcast and reading these books. Allegedly, she sings Alex a hymn that goes, "I heard there was a new podcast." Alex played and it pleads the Lord. He had no idea how it would change him. It started out with Julie Rowe. And it turned on the light, you know. And he was changed forever in an instant. He started small to build the light. Darkness went away at night. The Lord began to fill him, hallelujah. He read a book on paradise. He cried out all his tears at night and fell upon his knees now, hallelujah. He knows there is a God above. He surely taught him how to love. And that confirms his end times every day now. The darkness now has left his heart, and he knows how to play his part, and Jesus smiles down on him forever. Family members state how the siblings became very close around this time, and not long after this, Joseph Ryan, Lori's previous husband, was found dead in his apartment from suspected cardiovascular disease. His body was cremated and not much else has been investigated since then. Lori's obsession with Chad continued to build, with family and friends reporting that Lori began spouting ideas of the end times being imminent. It wasn't long after this when Lori and Chad officially met each other at one of Chad's Preparing a People podcast events, where there was a book signing, according to a friend who accompanied Lori, Melanie Gibb. Soon, according to Melanie Gibb, the pair began emailing one another. As Lori's beliefs around doomsday built, she began to gather a small following of people, including Jason Mao, her niece Melanie Boudreau, along with her own brother Alex and friend Melanie Gibb. The group all got together in November 2018 and stayed in Lori's house, according to Melanie Gibb, when Charles was out of town. As 2018 ends, it appears law enforcement have records of Lori and Chad texting one another. Chad began searching Lori's family obituaries on Google, and there is also evidence of the pair talking regarding the end of Chad and Tammy's marriage. According to sources, another woman became involved with the group by the name of Zulema Pastines, who would quickly become married to Lori's brother Alex. According to Melanie Gibb, Chad was teaching their group about multiple lives, how he and Lori had been married before in a previous life, and how Lori understood these teachings and believed them. Melanie Gibb claims that there was no group and that this was not a cult. At this point, Zulema Pastines claims to be having visions, which Chad claims to fix by sealing evil spirits away, and gives Lori's family and friends light and dark ratings, reflecting whether they are good people that should be a part of the 144,000 that they would save, or whether they are zombies who have their bodies possessed and taken over. This evidence has all been logged in various emails and text messages. It looks as though Chad Daybell was offering these ratings to all of the group members regarding their own loved ones. Funnily enough, it would end up being the inner circle of people who would retain their light ratings. By early January 2019, Lori had convinced her family to move. Her husband had no idea what was going on with her and Chad Daybell. On the 22nd of January, Chad informed Lori that her husband Charles had been taken over by an evil spirit and now had a dark rating. Towards the end of January, Charles filed an order of protection for himself against Lori, claiming she had made several threatening comments. There is body cam footage of police attending a call from Charles, where he tells them that he is worried about Lori's mental health. Charles claims that Lori said to him she was a god. She was assigned to carry out the work of the 144,000 at Christ's second coming in July 2020, that she would have to murder him if he got in her way and tried to stop her, that she didn't trust him, she would need to kill him when he got home, she would have an angel there to help dispose of his body. She knew his real name was Nick Schneider. Allegedly, when Charles asked Lori who Nick Schneider was, she replied, "Nick is your real name," Lori said, according to the documents. Quote, "Nick killed Charles and has taken his identity." Charles said that Lori told him he'd have to go painfully, and she also threatened to destroy him financially, according to court documents filed by Charles. During this time, Lori had also been transferring large sums of money from Charles's bank account, and when Charles was out of town, she completely emptied his bank account, cancelled his flight home, hid his clothes and laptop, and moved his truck from the airport, texting her group of people saying, "Please do not answer the phone if Charles calls you. We are in a big argument and he is looking for people to be on his side. Thank you. I love you all." Over time, Lori took the children and their belongings to unknown locations. Charles began to find emails on their laptop and began tracking cash transfers, putting together some of the relationship between Chad and Lori. Charles continued to ask people to help Lori, and at one point she was compelled to attend the police station but appeared happy and healthy and span a story that made Charles look like he was reacting out of turn. Her daughter Tylee backed her up with this. As Lori took JJ out of school and stopped refilling his medication, selling his therapy dog that supported him with his autism, Charles issued an order for temporary custody of their son. It seems things began to unravel, and when Charles could no longer do anything to change things or help Lori, he filed for divorce and changed his life insurance policy, adding a PIN to the account. On July 11th, an altercation broke out between Alex Cox and Charles Vallow when Alex fatally shot Charles, allegedly in self-defense, which was the story told by Tylee and Lori, who were present at the home. At the time, Charles became violent towards them and Alex shot him in the head. Lori attempted to cash out the life insurance but wasn't able to, and she texted Charles's adult sons to inform them that their father had died but offered no further information. The sons could not get hold of Lori to find out what had happened to their father. By the end of August, Lori took the kids to meet up with her group in Rexburg, where they all began living close to one another. On September the 8th, Lori, Alex, JJ and Tylee visited Yellowstone National Park, and on this same day, Chad increased his wife Tammy's life insurance policy. Between this time and September, JJ was unenrolled from school, with Lori claiming that she would be homeschooling him. She also opened up a 10x10 storage unit. Melanie Boudreau, Lori's niece, had been spouting similar extreme beliefs, and her own husband Brandon became concerned for her and their children. On the 2nd of October, he was shot in his driveway by somebody that was driving the then deceased Charles Vallow's Jeep. On October 9th, Tammy Daybell rang police to inform them that she had also been shot at by a masked man driving a Jeep. 10 days later, Tammy Daybell supposedly dies in her sleep from natural causes. 2 weeks following the death of Tammy Daybell, Lori and Chad got married in Hawaii on November 5th. On November 26th, police attempt to conduct a welfare check on JJ and Tylee after Charles's parents, JJ's grandparents, Kay and Larry Woodcock, had been unable to get in touch with JJ. And they stated the last time they spoke to him on his iPad, he seemed distracted, looking past the iPad as though he was being coached into what to say. Police were unable to locate the kids, and Lori had called her friend on the same day, Melanie Gibb, and asked her to lie to the police. Lori tells the police that the kids were with Melanie Gibb, who had already informed law enforcement that she does not have the kids or know their whereabouts. At this point, nobody knew where the kids were, and on December 12th, Lori's brother, Alex Cox, dies in the home of Zulema Pastines. A week later, the children are announced missing. Weeks pass and no one is able to locate the children. Lori has not produced Tylee or JJ, and Kay and Larry Woodcock, the grandparents, offer a $20,000 reward for any information on the missing children. Lori, who disappeared for a time, is found with Chad in Hawaii and is served a notice by Kauai police to produce the children in the next 48 hours, which she doesn't do. The storage unit is found to have all of the children's belongings in it, with Melanie Gibb explaining to law enforcement that days before JJ was last seen, Lori had told Melanie Gibb that JJ had turned dark. On February the 20th, Lori is arrested for obstructing justice and held on a $5 million bond. She is never released from jail. Law enforcement begin ordering exhumations on Tammy Daybell and begin to talk about charging Lori with the conspiracy to commit murder in regards to her husband Charles Vallow. Months pass and the children have still not been located. On June 9th, law enforcement execute a search warrant on the Daybell property, and they locate a shallow grave behind a barn on the property. Within the grave are the two small bodies of Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow. Chad Daybell was arrested on this day on suspicion of murder. Law enforcement searched the property after finding that Lori's brother Alex had his phone located to the Daybell property the day after Tylee was last seen alive in Yellowstone National Park. From June 2020 to today, the court proceedings have stopped and started. Originally, Chad and Lori Daybell were due to be tried together on first-degree murder charges and the conspiracy to commit murder. Lori has been labelled incompetent to stand trial twice, and the dual trial has been severed in light of new evidence, meaning Chad and Lori will now be tried separately. The judge appears to be doing everything possible to keep people out of the courtroom, including news reporters, cameras, composite artists, and even Larry and Kay Woodcock, claiming only victims of the family should be allowed to participate, and in this case the only victim is Tylee and JJ's older brother, Colby Ryan, who has been present in interviews and the recent Netflix documentary about Lori Vallow, The Sins of Our Mother. Up until recently, the death penalty was on the table for Lori, but has been taken off. As the trial unfolds, I will provide updates where I can, but this can be tricky because even news reporters like Nate Eaton of East Idaho News, who has been breaking this story and reporting on it vigilantly since the beginning, won't even have access to the courtroom or the trial. I hope there is justice for Tylee and JJ. I know Larry and Kay Woodcock have been very outspoken about getting justice for these children, and that as living people, it is their responsibility to get justice for those who are no longer living. This is a long news update, but I hope it has been helpful for those looking to keep up with this trial. There is a ton of stuff missing from this overview, so I will provide links to all of the sources and timelines for anyone looking to dig into this themselves. Join me tomorrow for more cult news. I'm your speaker, Casey, host of the Cult Vault podcast.